Hey, I think I'm live. Hopefully I am. Guys, so this is my second round for a live interview with the fitness Yoda of Australia, the health and fitness guy, Chris Miller. So if you didn't clock on yesterday to this interview, then just have a look at my page below. We will. You can watch it again. We rewatch it. It's about fasting. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just bear with me 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to invite Mr. Miller to come on board, and we're going to have a little chat about. 2 secs. Rotate your phone, of course. Sorry guys, you can tell that we're not the most technically savvy people. Here he is. 2 seconds, bring him on. You should see two beautiful faces pretty soon.
G'day, how are you?
There he is. How are you, buddy?
Good, how are you going?
Yeah, very good, very good. So if you just tuned in, hello, welcome. This is our little 5-minute second round of interviews with the one like Mr. Chris Miller. And I went through his credentials yesterday, but basically he's a weapon. So pay attention to what he's saying, and you may learn something. So hopefully they bought some pens and paper, Chris. So
Sure thing.
Yeah. How's your day been, buddy? Quickly.
Good. Busy, school drop-offs, bit of training, bit of work. So no, getting through the day nicely, thank you. We're chatting about movement today, aren't we?
We are indeed. So that was what I was going to say. So you're training. So tell everyone what you've done for training today.
Look, I have two aspects of my training. One is called a daily buy-in, and that daily buy-in is just a bit of movement training that I do every single day. So that's 7 days a week, 356 days a year, and that's kind of non-negotiable. That's my daily buy-in, and then I train, and that's all Primalthenics drills. And then on top of that, I'll do some weightlifting, some running, some sprints. Today I did several 400s after some weightlifting. So yeah, trying to get fit.
Nice. Well, I have a feeling it could be working, brother. So keep doing what you're doing.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Now, when you're saying your movements from Primalthenics, like, can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, sure. So this morning, for example, each day I pick 20 exercises and I'll do 50 reps of each. So Primalthenics is a combination of crawling drills, high-intensity calisthenics and bodyweight movements. So everything from a gibbon to a Russian to a crocodile to an iguana, and they're just all crawling, ground-based movements, strength and conditioning that you can just use your body to do so. No weights or equipment required.
Awesome. Okay, so look, my first question is, what is movement to you?
Okay, well, movement to me is the most efficient way to train the body, and how I describe movement, and basically the basis of my paradigm in regards to Primalthenics comes back to a little guy like this. If I can get everyone to imagine back to one of those 80s movies, like something like Weird Science, and a couple of guys sit at their computer and they create this awesome little 3D, three-dimensional model that pops up, a little hologram. That is essentially what we have in the brain, and we have two of those essentially. One is called the sensory somotor homunculus, man or woman, and the other is called the motor homunculus. Now, the sensory somotor one, that receives all information from your body. So every time your foot touches the ground, every time something lands on your skin, that sends information to the brain, and that registers on that map, your little 3D model in your brain. This little 3D model gathers all the sensory, so all the information from the body. It then transports that information across to the front part of the body, another little homunculus person, man or woman, and that becomes your motor. So from here, that then sends all the signals out to the body and dictates your movement potential, your strength, your coordination, your skills, and all that sort of thing. So all I try to do with my training is try to increase the information in. So I'm looking at increasing the sensory somatocortex stimulation. The more information I send to the brain, the more information this can then send to the motor homunculus, which then allows a greater input. And I'll put it like this. Now, I've had 3 knee reconstructions on my right knee, so I've got no MCL, no ACL, no meniscus, no cartilage, no lateral collateral, no posterior cruciate, no popliteus, and it's just, a lot of holes and gaps in that leg. So in my sensory homunculus in the brain, my right knee has this big red zone on it. So if somebody's rolled their ankle and they've got an ankle tear, they've torn a quad, they've got a long-term issue in their knee or abdomen, they've had a cesarean, I want you to think on that 3D model, there is a blurred spot in that brain. The brain is not really registering. It's got an impaired input for that zone. As a result, when I go to use that area in movement, it's impaired because I've received impaired information to my sensory motor, my sensory cortex. It's then sent that impaired information to my motor cortex, which then means that all the information coming out of the brain is diminished because it's got less input. So what I try to do with movement training, and this is the whole importance, the whole crux, the whole benefit of movement training, is I slowly try to strip away all those impairments, all those blurred spots, all those weak spots, all those limitations by increasing information to the sensory. That then gives a better load of information to the motor, which then generates more information out. So you immediately become stronger. You get more information in, it sends more information forward, which then allows more information to go out. So you get better strength, better coordination, better range of movement, and everything just works better.
Yeah, so that's what you're saying basically. When there are injuries involved, and many of us do have injuries ongoing or not, that that it's basically, it's not so much a weakness, it's like an inhibition, right? So it's like
exactly
that you just can't produce that power because your body's gone into the sort of fight or flight mode, and it's gone, nah, I don't want to tell you where anything is. I want to be safe, basically.
Exactly right, exactly right. And a muscle just doesn't get weaker. It just doesn't, go, hey, I'm not working today. There's some sort of all power, all movement, all control is directed from the brain. So if there's issues in that muscle, if you can't activate, if you can't fire a muscle, you can squeeze it all that you want as an individual muscle, and that will help. And that's kind of, the traditional way of doing things. But when
because it's that brain-muscle connection, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So, but when you start to integrate it with more movement-based exercises, so it's globally recruited, and it's a part of a stimulus that is greater to the brain, then you're going to be able to better activate that muscle and have better long-term strength and conditioning. If you have, a weak knee, a sore hip, sure, you still need to do your individual exercises like a clamshell, a glute med activation drill, or a glute minimus drill, but you incorporate that on top of a whole movement scale so that everything has more information at the same time as you're just working on that individual muscle.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's pretty cool. So next question would be, how can I improve movement? Like, what's the, what do you do? How do you improve your movement, especially like through your knee?
Look, it took me 7.5 years to run again. I did everything by the book for 3.5 years. I got nowhere. I threw the book out and I started to do lots of weird things. I trained, instead of having earphones in with music, I put earplugs in so I couldn't hear anything. Instead of, looking myself in the mirror, I closed my eyes or I had a blindfold on. So I just tried to change the stimulus. Instead of having shoes with an arch support, I went bare feet. I trained on the sand. Instead of running in big, fantastic running shoes, I ran on sharp, pebbly ground with bare feet. Just all those things designed to increase the input to my brain. For everybody out there, I would suggest start doing some exercises bare feet. I would suggest the best thing you can do to start your day is just crawl. Get down on your hands and knees, spend some time crawling. You'll very quickly find how much that's going to engage your pelvic floor, how it changes the whole position of your body. You have to lift your head up, so you start to engage your eyes, you start to engage your visual ocular reflex and your inner ear, which has to do with balance. You're engaging some of your mid-back muscles to stabilize through those shoulders. And also, once you're on the ground, all limitations and weaknesses are exposed very quickly. So it's just about changing your position. Once you're better down on the ground, you're going to be generally better upright.
Yeah, right. That's cool. And just quickly, so if you were crawling, say, first thing in the morning, how long would you do it for? What distance or how long?
Whatever's suitable for that person or whatever they have time for. I would suggest if you have little kids, get down on the ground and play around with them for a few minutes. You'll find your heart rate will go through the roof, and it'll just be a good way to get you started. You hop up and you do feel a bit different. If you have a history of vestibular, vertigo, dizziness issues, then you just take it nice and slowly. You can speed up your crawling to make it harder, but you can also slow it down to make it harder. And there's an important concept that I'll probably add in to your understanding of movement. Speed masks the weakness. So when you're going to do a movement and you're going to do it fast, it's because you don't have the control you don't have the strength, you don't have the stability or the mobility to control that movement at a speed of your determining. So slow the crawling down, go as slow as possible, and 2 to 3 meters of crawling will be one of the hardest things you've ever done. So, movement is always about working safely, working at your level and adjusting the movement to suit you, your body, your injuries, and what you can and cannot do.
And I'm going to throw this in here. I'm going to do a shameless plug for you, Chris.
Okay. Sure.
For Primalthenics, so www.thehealthandfitnessguide.com.au. All the crawling stuff, like literally, I'm a member of Chris's group as well. I'm telling you right now, if you want to sort of try and fix yourself, it's a really, really, and it is. He gets me doing some mad stuff, like standing on one leg, making shapes and with the eyes shut and all this sort of stuff, but it does work. So it's a very, very interesting take on it. Now, the last question that I'm going to throw in here. Now, obviously, yesterday we were talking about fasting. We were talking about a bit of stuff to do with nutrition. So in regards to nutrition and movement, like, when you're doing, say, a fast, right? Like, is this sort of training appropriate? It's like, what would work best for that sort of thing? Just going in relation to what we were talking yesterday.
Yeah, sure. And again, that is determined by the person's capabilities and what they're used to. If they've never fasted before, I'm not going to suggest that they go out and do an extremely hard training session. Generally, in something like fasting, you want to avoid stress. And training and physical output is a stress, and the harder you do it, the greater that stress is. So you want to try and minimize that stress by having a lower heart rate. So something like walking and aerobic work with a low heart rate, so 180 minus your age, and you can then minus another 5 or 10 if you are ill or coming back from injury. That's a good way to really get into a rehabilitative aerobic state, during a fast or something like that. The rest of the time, in the morning, or if you just do straight intermittent fasting, you're fine to get down and actually train on an empty stomach. It's good for you. It increases some different pathways that help with muscle signaling, muscle repair, and it's also even better for things like improving insulin sensitivity and such like that.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Now, I've got so many more questions, but we promised to keep this to
under 5 minutes.
Under 5, which we got way over. I think yesterday was 12 minutes. So, look, Chris, thank you very much for coming on board and doing that. So tomorrow we will be looking at, hang on a minute, we're going to look at longevity, okay? So
I better go do some homework.
Yeah, I'm going to go research some questions, all right? So, so look, thank you very much. And again, Chris's website, for those that are watching, is thehealthandfitnessguide.com.au. And honestly, whether or not you're just starting out in fitness or you're an elite level athlete, whether you're a weightlifter, power lifter, sprinter, whatever it might be, all the things on there will be able to help you. So, yeah, that's my plug-in.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And I'll see everyone tomorrow, same time, same place.
No worries. Thanks a lot, bro. Thank you.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.